I want to ask you something. I want you to be completely honest with yourself when you answer this. Is your freedom more important than your safety? Or is your safety more important than your freedom? Is your safety and security more important than your freedom? We're going to talk about that today because I have a different spin on what the slippery slope may be with the fact of federalizing DC. I have no problem with federalizing DC. I'll talk about that why. But then there was two other comments made about other cities that I do believe it could be very, very dangerous. We're going to discuss that. Also, we're going to discuss the infighting again with Republicans. It's amazing how we're literally, it's like we are a virus on our own self. We're destroying ourselves. We have this facet, this facet, this facet, this facet, and ultimately what we're doing is just destroying the Republican and conservative movement, and I think this is going to make ways for socialism and Democrats to thrive. For instance, there is a big story about Adam Schiff. I mean, how he is so corrupt, and he almost won the CIA directorship, basically, and Trump stopped it. But this guy lied upon lies upon lies, hid and colluded, and guess what? He needs to be arrested. I mean, he needs to be arrested, but will he be arrested? He is literally serving as a senator right now. No one's holding his feet to the fire. So while Republicans are infighting, we're actually losing out on actually doing our jobs. And that's a problem. And then lastly, we're going to talk about California. Again, we've been discussing how Palisades situation is a big deal. We're going to talk about what Grant Cardone just said about his property and how every house that did not get destroyed has to go to new specs. Those new specs will cost millions upon millions for the homeowners that are there. Well, if you don't have millions upon millions to just tear down your house to rebuild it, then the government may just take it. What did we talk about? Freedom, safety, freedom. They're not one and the same, people. I'm sorry. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. Also check out my other channel, Life with Colby Mac. We have a vlog going out today. Again, it allows you to see kind of how we live our life and how we prep and how we do this thing called homesteading and sustainability. That's the thing we push you to do, and you see that on our vlog channel. So go check that channel out. Also want to mention one thing. I don't talk about it much, but if you ever want to talk to me, video chat, phone call, text message, however you want to do it, you can do that through Connect. There's a link below. I don't discuss that a lot, but I know a lot of people email me, and I can't get back to all the emails. I understand that. So please know, you can always reach out to me. There is a small fee through Connect. It's nothing I can help, but it's just their policy and what it sets. But if you really do have a chat, something you want to mention to me, or you want to make sure that we talk, we'll converse, please reach out to me through Connect. So that link is below. Now, let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about the biggest story, and this is the one I want to really focus on today. There's a story done. It says, is freedom more important than your safety? Or is safety more important than your freedom? Now, you remember me talking about the curfew situations in the cities and how when there's bad crimes, we tend to put curfews, and the people that are minding the curfews typically are the people that are not breaking the law. You remember me telling you about how big cities and even my little town were starting to use drone capabilities and more security cameras to try to be proactive in busting criminals before things happen. Sounds great, doesn't it? It's a safety element. There's nothing wrong with that. It's security. But at the same time, it's also taken away from your freedom. Now, that is a very, very, very slippery slope. And why do I say that? Now, this kind of brings up the story with the federalization of DC. Now, I do not have a problem with federalization of DC. Why? Because DC is our capital, and I do believe it should be ran by the President of the United States if there's a problem. When you say federalizing DC, that does not mean that martial law is running rampant in DC. What that actually means is, like your city is part of a state. Well, first it's part of a county, which is a sheriff, then it's part of a state. So there's modes of governance to make sure that that city thrives. So for instance, like in Mississippi, Jackson is a failed city. It's been a failed city. Hinds County can do what they want, but ultimately this governor in the state of Mississippi stepped in and tried to help clean up Jackson and fix it. That's kind of the same process of what they're doing with DC, because DC does not have, it's basically its own area, but its own city, its own county, its own state. it makes no sense. So federalizing it is not a problem, especially when it needs control. It has a crime problem, it has a homicide problem, it has a uncleanliness problem, and I've been there. I love DC because of the historical facets of it. It is a representation of our city. I love what Trump said, and this is so true because I tell my wife this all the time. If I go into a restaurant and the floors are nasty, the doors are nasty, the handles are nasty, the bathroom is nasty, it makes me worry about how the food is actually, how it's cooked, how it's done, how it's maintained. Because if you don't care about all the other aesthetics, then that could be a problem. Trump said the same thing. He said his dad told him one day, if the door is nasty to a restaurant, don't stay there to eat it, because if they're not willing to clean up what you see every day, then what are they doing at the back room? And I thought that was a big statement because I believe the exact same way. There's a restaurant in town that I know the owners really well, but it is they don't keep anything clean. And I know people are like, oh, it's a hole in the wall, it's great. But yeah, but I don't, if someone doesn't take great pride in what they do, how are they taking pride in the food they're cooking? Now, I digress. That's not what it's about. But I do believe that DC should be clean and should be the absolute lighthouse for our government and for the United States. It's where people come. It's where most of the embassies are. It's where a lot of business is transpiring. So I'm fully in agreement that Trump cleans up DC. Now, right after he made that comment, he made a comment about, well, I'm looking at New York City and Chicago too. Now, here's the problem. Here's where I'm struggling. Do I believe those cities should be cleaned up? Absolutely. For instance, DC has a policy where if youth breaks the law, they do a rehabilitation and they actually won't lock them up. Well, it's not helped, by the way. California has the same thing. If you still up to a certain amount in these cities like San Francisco, you won't be criminalized, everything's fine. Same way with Portland. I mean, all these cities are the same. So crime runs rampant. Theft runs rampant. Homicides run rampant in these cities. They're failed states. But instead of trying to fix them, like Jackson, Mississippi, you're not going to fix Jackson. What it's done, though, is it's built other places around there that's taken over what Jackson once was, the capital. It's still the capital, but now all of the infrastructure and all the businesses has moved to other counties and other cities close to it to thrive off of it, but to ultimately not be in that cesspool. I'm worried that if we try to go in and try to fix cities, and I know if you're part of a city, you may want safety and security to be able to walk down the street. That's right. And do I believe Trump will abuse the fact of federalizing any city? Probably not. But what are we doing? We're setting a precedent for the next guy. So say, for instance, something like 2020 happens again, and there's leaders like Kamala or Gavin or Tim Walz in power. Those are the same people that lock down their states. Those are the same people that wouldn't allow people to go beaches. Those are the same people that actually ticketed you for going to restaurants. However, Gavin would go to this high-end restaurant every week with no problem. So we're setting a precedence that I do believe these cities should be cleaned up. I do believe they should be safe. But at what cost? Because ultimately, when we're looking out for the safety and security of those people now, we're actually most likely taking their freedom later because of the slippery slope of the precedent it is setting and how that will be interpreted by the next liberal or socialist ideologue that will control the narrative. I mean, look, we have cities that are defunding the police. You never thought that would have happened. So are they going to have crime run amok? Yes. You know what it does, though? It makes for more persecution, more curfews, and more of the activist state of safety and security, which ultimately takes away from your freedom. Now think about this. Be open-minded when I say this. I support Trump. I'm a conservative. I actually support federalizing DC. But when we talk about these other cities, instead of me saying I want to try to fix that, especially from the federal level, if we can't elect people and those people keep electing the same foolish people to run their areas, like for instance, Muriel Bowser of DC has been elected, for the last however many times, beating out everyone and winning overwhelmingly. Now, she's not done anything for their city. There's actually been more crime, more homicides, and and less safety in that city. But they keep electing her. Same way with Jackson. Same way with Baltimore. Same way with all these other cities. They've been ran by bad policies for so long, they don't know anything, and they believe that this is the way. If you come in and federalize it, first of all, for instance, there was riots and protests yesterday against safe cities. So here's the thing. Let the cities go. I know that may be an unpopular opinion, and if you live in New York or you live in San Francisco or you live in Los Angeles, you may not like that sentiment. But I do believe if we allow for military to go into these towns and these cities and quote unquote get order, that might be okay right now under Trump administration because he's not trying to take your freedoms. But what if that's under a liberal ideologue against conservatism, or against you going out your home because there's a stay-at-home notice, or you eating meat because you can't eat meat anymore, or you having a Second Amendment right and you can't have that anymore? You don't believe they will use this same precedent to come after you? Remember, the enforcement wing of the government, military, police, all of it, they may be wonderful guys, but you are going to do the enforcement of the regulation and the leadership that has been given to you. So for instance, like I told you before, when that guy tried to give me a ticket for a tag that he didn't even check, it wasn't that he was a quote-unquote bad guy, but he was enforcing a bad law that actually was not even checked. I got out of the ticket, no big deal, but the bottom line is the enforcement wing is just pushing what is the main player in the regulation. So in Trump's facet, he wants safe cities and safe towns and less crime. That's awesome. We all want that. But here's what I'm scared of. That same ableness to nationalize a martial law state in these cities that will bring safety and security, I think will be used by the left or socialists to actually take away from your freedom. Think of China right now. They're locking people in homes because of a mosquito outbreak. The mosquito outbreak is not a person-to-person thing. It's, well, you got to lock in because we don't want mosquitoes to spread this to you. And they're locking people in homes. Now, they're doing it for their safety and security, correct? That's how they can use that. But look at the freedom they're losing. Let's go to Canada and Nova Scotia. You can't go walk outside and not be fined $25,000 in hiking, even on your own private property, because you may break your leg, or the fact of the wildfires. That's their two excuses. Now they're quote unquote looking out for your safety and security, all the while taking your freedom. Do you see how that works? That's why this is a very, very dangerous precedent. Now before we go into the other stories dealing with the Republicans infighting, just a word from today's sponsor, Chapter. Chapter has become a big part of what we believe when it comes to helping individuals. I love sponsors when they come alongside you and advise you versus trying to just sell you something. So please check out Chapter today. There's a number below. If you're 65 and older or about to be, this could be a game changer for you when it comes to Medicare supplements and understanding open enrollment, understanding if this part or this part or this part is actually the best for me, if it's going to cover these doctors or these hospitals, these prescriptions. All that is so much. And to be honest with you, Medicare is hard to deal with. So instead of getting someone who's going to make money off of you or make commissions off of you or has an opinion that actually is going to benefit them versus you, why don't you reach out to Chapter today? Chapter comes alongside and works as an advisor for you. The average American who uses Chapter not only saves $1,100, they get the plan that benefits them for the long haul. To say, you know what, I need to save money. I need to make sure that I'm not blowing it. I need to make sure I'm covered. But at the same time, I don't need to just let everybody tell me what I think I need. I need someone to tell me what's best for, quote unquote, me only. Check with Chapter today because I do believe they will help you out, especially when you're looking at Medicare and saving money. There's tons of examples of this. Go check them out. They have testimonies on their website, but please call them. 15, 20 minutes could literally save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. I want you to listen to this new task force that Trump just made. Again, completely believe in it when it comes to, D.C. But I'm scared it can hurt us later. Because listen to this. It says, the president of the D.C. police union is in full support of President Trump's takeover of the police department. We need it. We need safety and security. I think there's no problem with that. The bottom line is, though, if the police are listening to their leadership, they could have already done this. They just couldn't because their enforcement was not allowed to because of their leadership. So their hands were tied. So it shows that the police knew the problem, but they can't do anything about it. So it shows that they are controlled by who's ever in, paying their paycheck, which is normal. Trump's Pentagon plan is to create a domestic civil disturbance quick reaction force with hundreds of National Guard troops and to swiftly deploy in U.S. cities during protests and civil unrest. Again, there shouldn't be civil unrest and protests, and if riots break out, there should be control. And I hate to say this because I do want those cities safe, and I do want you safe if you're in the cities. That's why I believe you got to prep and you got to get out. If you're not able to get out, you better make sure you have all the goods you need, because these cities are going to go down and represent the worst among us. I mean, they are. I'm sorry. And I love the fact that he is trying to make cities safe. But my biggest fear is, what does that mean later on? What is that precedent setting if all of a sudden Zoran Mandani becomes president? If a Barack Obama-like becomes president? Now let's move on to Adam Schiff. And this is another reason that, just like we were talking about in the first story with the declaration of emergencies to where Trump can put these powers in, this same guy had tons of power. Adam Schiff had tons of power, and nothing's getting done to him. So it shows our leadership sometimes are not looking out for the best for us. They're looking out for the best for them. And if that means, quote unquote, giving you safety and security, but ultimately taking your freedom, or no freedom to actually know the truth, that's kind of what this guy did. I want you to listen to this, because this is going to lead right into the story with the Republicans. Breaking: Adam Schiff signed off on leaking the classified information to damage President Trump over the Russia conspiracy, said the FBI memos. It says this has got to be a crime because the leak actually meant to harm Trump never actually had truth, but he knew that, and he still leaked it anyways. Now, under any precedent, under any litigation or law, under any Senate leadership, under any federal crime, this guy basically broke the law. Not yet has he been censured by John Thune, California, by any Republican, other than just a few talking heads and influencers. And yet, this guy is still serving with no problem. Democrats know how to connive, be evil, sinister, and get things done. I don't like it, but it's the truth. Republicans only know how to infight. So instead of Republicans going after this guy and making him the target, Lindsey Graham's worried about Ukraine. Candace Owens is worried about the Jews. Dan Bilzerian, same way. I mean, look, Laura Loomer is trying to help Trump, but ultimately she's fighting off battles every day from all the other conservative influencers. The Hodge twins are worried about Netanyahu. Tucker Carlson's interviewing everybody and everything and is wanting to ultimately destroy the Republicans' inner circles more than he's worried about destroying the Democrats and talking about people that are on the other side. And then you have the rhinos. They're just worried about war. They're worried about everybody else and not Americans. They're worried about their pocketbooks. The bottom line is the Republicans do not know how to win. I say this all the time. As a staunch conservative and vote Republican and have voted Republican in every race since I was 18, they don't know how to win. They know how to play a defense. They don't know how to play offense. Trump and McConnell can't get along. Trump and Massey can't get along. Massey and Rand Paul get along, but then they don't get along with the rest of the... It's all just a circus. And our influencers are the same way. We should have infighting. Now they're talking about Fuentes and how he's going to have a say in all this. And you have Dave Smith, who's supposed to be a commentator in a comic, but he knows everything. And so he's got a voice now, and he's a libertarian, but he's fully against Trump. But he's supposed to be the side of America first. That infighting is going to cause for literally Republicans not to win anything. Now, I think all these people have great things to say, but then they all have their own opinions, and it gets some kind of lost in translation. You may not agree with everything I have to say too, but ultimately, when we look at someone like Adam Schiff, we should all put our attention towards that. Ultimately, when we look at people like Nancy Pelosi and even some of the conservatives who have taken advantage of the stock market and insider trading, we should all be on the same page to say that's wrong. Ultimately, we should say that we don't want crimes in the cities, so therefore their own cities should fix their problems, not the federal government. Ultimately, we should see those things and say we want secure borders. But no, we infight to a point where we destroy our own party. I mean, like, for instance, Marjorie Taylor Greene is now kind of siding with Gates. They're kind of pushing against Trump. They're kind of pushing against people like the Laura Loomers. And then all the story rats out about them and all their escapades. So you see, we're destroying our own reputation because of the infighting. It gets us nowhere, people. Guess what? Have you heard anything about that audit from Fort Knox? No, you haven't, though. You've been distracted, hadn't you? Have you heard about the files and the list from the client list of the gentleman that we've been talking about forever? Oh no, you hadn't heard that though. We've been so distracted, haven't we? Yeah. So have we cut the budget and actually started saving money on the Doge cuts? No, we've just forgotten about Doge, hadn't we? See, we took our eyes off the prize and we started infighting to grandstand. Have you heard anything about Brenner going to prison? Schiff going to prison? Barack Obama in handcuffs? Clinton in handcuffs? No, you haven't, have you? And you're not, because ultimately we're too worried about getting the story on our own Republicans versus getting the Democrats. Our trajectory as Republicans is to lose because we suck at leading. Now, we may have a great leader when it comes to someone like Trump or RFK or to J.D. Vance or whomever you want to put there. DeSantis, great leader and governor in Florida. But bottom line is, we can't stop infighting enough to actually win. We're still spending money. We're still allowing for insider trading. We're still not working together. We're still destroying ourselves within, and ultimately, that's what scares me about the first point, because if these leaders get into Washington that are not on the side of freedom and conservatism, what are they going to use that precedent for when declaring martial law and federalization? Please quit fighting, Republicans. Get together, let's discuss the things, and look, if we don't agree on everything, okay, that's fine. But we do need to agree on the certain things of saying we need to persecute and prosecute the people that we talked about that were doing necessary evil against Trump. I mean, we have them dead to rights. We literally have all the information based on what Tulsi Gabbard said, the FBI says, and yet nothing's happened. A.G. Bondi hadn't arrested anybody, has she? We're destined to lose because we're not willing to actually do the things and stick together and win the battles. It's crazy. Last story I want to talk about, and I hate to always bring up California because to me California is such a beautiful state, but at the same time it's just like they're just wasted away. It's kind of letting the cities go. It's kind of the same process there. I want you to listen to this. And again, I'm not the biggest Grant Cardone fan, but I do think he has a very good point here. So it's official. California is a land-grabbed, justifiable situation. We were just informed with FEMA in California that if your home has been affected by the fires or acquired more than 50% of previous home's value, meaning there's more damage, there's more problems with it, then you are forced to raise the entire property structure to the new floodwater requirements. I will be forced, and this is his house. His house did not burn. His house actually was one of the only ones on the beachfront that did not burn. Listen to this though. It says, because of all the damage around me, because they're doing so much work, he says, I will be forced to raise a perfectly good property 3 to 4 feet. This 3 to 4 feet raise on a perfectly normal property will cost me $40 to $50 million. This will make it impossible for anyone to rebuild, adding years of completion, and every part of California's government will then take over the coasts and places and sell to whoever they want to sell to. It will not be fast-tracked, and permitting will not happen, and people will not be able to afford to build. See, what they're saying is, oh, we're helping people rebuild. Yeah, but they're putting so much regulations in there, there's only a certain amount of people that can rebuild. I want you to look at this. This house, now, I'm going to bring this up. This is his house now. All right, there's nothing wrong with his house. His house is completely fine. Around it, see all that damage is burned all around it? They're going to make him take this home and either tear it down or put special permitting on it to raise it up and spend millions upon millions upon millions. Perfectly fine house, but because they don't like it and the regulation board is wanting to change everything about that area, so basically in China people can buy it because that's exactly what's happening. That's what's happening. Go back to yesterday's story, you need to go back and watch yesterday's video. Or the people that want to have a thought pattern of the smart city. That's the only other people. This has got to stop. Now let's go back to what I said at the very first of the video. Is your safety and security more important than your freedom? He built this house. He paid for it. Kind of a weird guy, but ultimately he bought the house. He paid for it. Because of what they're saying with the floods and the fires, for your safety, you're going to have to spend $40 million, Grant Cardone. Now, should he have the freedom to say, no, look, my house is completely fine. It didn't even go through the burns. It's been here for a while. No storms have destroyed it. Why would I want to rebuild it? Well, sir, you don't have that freedom. We have to worry about your safety and security for later on. You see how that works? My property tax is going up this next year. You know I'm probably hot about that because I think I'm getting screwed royally on property tax. Well, for your safety and concern, we have to make sure these schools are safe, these roads and bridges are safe, so we need to take more of your money and invest it in our city. Well, that's making me not have as much freedom because they're taking more of my money. And they're not using it for things that I believe in, because ultimately I don't believe in the school system here. I don't believe in the fact of some of the things they're spending money on. I don't need a new baseball concession for this school, or we have 5 county schools. Is there really a purpose in having 5 county schools to keep up 5 different locations? No, they need property tax to do that though. So therefore, government's regulating, making quote unquote safety and security, but ultimately taking away from my freedom. This is what I'm scared of. What are we willing to give up? There's been arguments all yesterday about things dealing with the breakdown of our security. There's a new story that Apple is allowing ChatGPT inside information on basically your payments. You can go back and read the story. Basically, AI is getting more of your information in the structures of how you pay for things and why you pay for things, and Apple is basically making a back door for AI to get that. Does that make you feel safe? We were just hacked yesterday off a link dealing with Amazon. Does that make me feel safe? It's amazing to me that we're doing so much, but still, the regulation is against us. Our freedoms are waning, and really we're not getting any more safety and security. We're getting more regulation on every facet. Do I believe in federalizing DC? I actually have no problem with DC, because DC should be a nation's capital, not a city, not a town, and not a state. It should be DC, District of Columbia, set aside for the federal government. However, when you start bringing in task force to take care of cities, first of all, cities should take care of themselves. You know how Trump closed the border? He wrote all these new bills and all these new policies. No, he actually didn't set any new bills or new policies. He just enforced the law that we already had in the land. Isn't that funny? So if you just go into these cities and say, we're just going to enforce the law of the land, then ultimately we wouldn't have the riots and protests and civil unrest and the murders and homicides and all that. We wouldn't have all that, would we? But see, that's what's not happening. So what it's going to do is going to make him nationalize troops, which will be a slippery slope and precedent for later on. Give me your thoughts on that. I want to ask your opinion. Is safety and security more important than freedom? Go back to 2020. You couldn't go buy toilet paper and a box of chicken without 2, 3, 4, 5 masks on, because it's for your safety, right? Didn't matter if you believed in it. So was that safety and security more important than your freedom? It was. Be careful of what we're doing. It can be a very slippery slope. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.